Here is my RS6 GT3, and here is my RS6 engine that we need to fix. And today, my look's about to get even worse.
Millions of people dream of owning just one supercar in their lifetime. Mat Armstrong owns a garage full of them. Lamborghinis, Porsches, Aston Martins, Range Rovers, and even some of the most ambitious rebuild projects ever seen on YouTube. But here's the crazy part. He didn't become rich by buying perfect luxury cars. He became famous by buying the broken ones that nobody else wanted. Today, Mat Armstrong lives a life that looks like something straight out of a Hollywood movie. A multi-million-pound mansion, a collection of exotic cars worth fortunes, luxury road trips across Europe, and a YouTube empire watched by millions around the world. Every time he uploads a new project, fans rush to see what impossible challenge he will conquer next. Yet only a few years ago, this lifestyle seemed completely out of reach. There were no supercars parked outside his house. There was no luxury mansion. There was no massive online audience waiting for his next upload. Instead, there was just a young man with a dream, a toolbox, and an obsession with cars. While most people play it safe, Mat built his fortune by taking risks that many considered crazy. He bought wrecked supercars that experts believed would never drive again. He spent thousands of pounds on projects that could have become financial disasters. One mistake could have cost him everything. But somehow, time after time, he turned damaged metal into incredible success stories. Today, his life is filled with roaring engines, expensive machines, luxury properties, and opportunities that most people can only imagine. From rebuilding crashed Lamborghinis to owning his dream forever home, Mat Armstrong has created one of the most fascinating success stories in the automotive world. The question is not how luxurious his life is today. The real question is how a BMX rider from England transformed himself into a millionaire entrepreneur, living a lifestyle that millions dream about. And once you discover the journey behind the money, the cars, and the fame, you'll realize that Mat Armstrong's story is even more incredible than his collection of supercars. Long before the supercars, the luxury lifestyle, and the millions of views, Mat Armstrong was just a young boy with a huge passion for anything that had wheels. Growing up in Leicester, England, he was fascinated by machines and speed. While many kids spent their free time playing video games, Mat was more interested in learning how things worked. He loved the sound of engines, the excitement of racing, and the feeling of pushing himself to new limits. But cars were not the first thing that made him famous. In fact, before YouTube ever changed his life, Mat was building a completely different career. He became a professional BMX rider and dedicated years of his life to the sport. He traveled, competed, trained endlessly, and dreamed of becoming one of the best riders in the world. BMX was not just a hobby for him. It was his identity. Every day revolved around improving his skills and chasing bigger goals. For a while, it seemed like everything was going according to plan. But life has a strange way of changing direction when you least expect it. One serious shoulder injury suddenly brought his BMX career to a halt. The sport that had defined his life for years was no longer a reliable future. Imagine spending years chasing a dream only to see it disappear because of something beyond your control. For many people, that would have been the end of the story. It would have been the moment they accepted defeat and settled for an ordinary life. But Mat Armstrong was not willing to do that. Deep down, another passion had always been waiting for its chance. Cars. Ever since he was young, he had spent time around vehicles, learning mechanical skills and understanding how machines worked. Even while pursuing BMX, he had developed valuable knowledge that would later become the foundation of his success. Instead of feeling sorry for himself after the injury, he started looking for new opportunities. Around that time, he already had a YouTube channel, but it was focused mainly on BMX content. The channel was small and far from becoming a business. However, Mat noticed something interesting. Whenever he worked on cars, people seemed genuinely interested. They enjoyed watching the process, the challenges, and the transformations. This sparked an idea that would eventually change everything. Rather than simply showing finished vehicles, he decided to document the entire journey. Every problem, every mistake, every success, and every repair would become part of the story. It was a risky decision because nobody knew whether viewers would care about long rebuild projects. But Matt believed there was something special about taking a damaged vehicle and bringing it back to life. That belief proved to be correct. One of the earliest projects that gained attention involved an Audi TT connected to his girlfriend Hannah. The rebuild attracted viewers because it felt real and authentic. People were not just watching a car being repaired. They were watching someone solve problems, overcome setbacks, and refuse to quit. The project became a turning point. It showed Matt that YouTube could be much more than a hobby. It could become a career. More importantly, it showed him that audiences loved watching impossible challenges become success stories. What started as a simple passion project soon began attracting thousands of viewers. Those viewers eventually became loyal fans who wanted to follow every rebuild, every adventure, and every milestone. Without realizing at the time, Mat Armstrong had just taken the first major step toward building a luxurious lifestyle that millions of people admire today. As Mat Armstrong's videos began attracting more viewers, something incredible started happening. What was once a simple hobby was slowly turning into a real business. Every upload brought new subscribers, more comments, and a growing community of people who loved watching his rebuild projects. The automotive world on YouTube was becoming increasingly competitive, but Matt had discovered something that made him different. He was not simply showing luxury cars. He was telling stories. Every damaged vehicle represented a challenge. Every rebuild became a journey, and every success felt like a victory shared with his audience. Viewers became emotionally invested in the projects because they wanted to know whether he could actually finish them. This created the perfect formula for growth. As his audience expanded, so did the opportunities. YouTube advertising revenue started increasing, sponsorship deals began appearing, and automotive brands became interested in working with him. For many creators, earning money can completely change their focus. Some stop caring about quality and start chasing quick profits. Matt took a different approach. Instead of spending his earnings on short-term luxuries, he reinvested much of the money into bigger and more ambitious projects. This decision played a huge role in his future success. The larger the project, the more exciting the videos became. The more exciting the videos became, the larger the audience grew. It was a cycle that continued building momentum year after year. But YouTube was not the only source of income helping him create wealth. Long before many people knew his name, Matt had already developed an interest in property investment. While some young people spent their money on expensive lifestyles, he focused on assets that could grow in value. At just 21 years old, he purchased his first property. Instead of simply living in it, he renovated it, refinanced it, and rented it out. The strategy worked surprisingly well. The success of that first investment gave him confidence to repeat the process. Soon, one property became several. With every successful investment, his financial foundation grew stronger. This was one of the smartest decisions of his career because it meant he was building wealth from multiple directions at the same time. While YouTube generated income through content creation, property investments created long-term financial security. This combination allowed him to take bigger risks with his automotive projects. If one rebuild became more expensive than expected, he had other sources of income supporting him. Over time, these smart financial moves transformed Matt from a content creator into a genuine entrepreneur. The results became impossible to ignore. His channel continued gaining millions of views. Brands wanted partnerships, and his reputation within the automotive community grew rapidly. Fans admired his skills, but they also admired his willingness to take risks that most people would never consider. Buying damaged luxury cars worth tens, or even hundreds of thousands of pounds, was not something an average person would do. Yet Matt repeatedly proved that with enough determination and knowledge, those risks could become incredible opportunities. As the money continued growing, so did his ambitions. He was no longer dreaming about owning luxury cars one day. He was beginning to collect them. The vehicles that once decorated posters and computer wallpapers were slowly finding their way into his garage. What made this achievement even more impressive was that every success had been earned. There was no overnight miracle and no secret shortcut. There were years of hard work, countless hours in workshops, difficult decisions, and a relentless belief that bigger opportunities were waiting ahead. And soon, Those opportunities would lead him towards some of the most extraordinary supercars of his entire life. For most car enthusiasts, owning a Lamborghini is the ultimate dream. It is the kind of achievement people spend decades working toward. Some never reach it at all. But for Mat Armstrong, the dream eventually became reality, and then it became something even bigger. As his success continued growing, his garage slowly transformed into a place that looked more like a luxury car showroom than a private collection. Yet what made Mat different from traditional collectors was that he rarely purchased perfect examples. Instead, he searched for opportunities hidden inside damaged, neglected, or forgotten vehicles. Where others saw problems, Mat saw potential. And nowhere was this mindset more obvious than with one of the most iconic cars in his collection, the Lamborghini Gallardo. To the average person, the Gallardo is already an incredible machine. Its aggressive design, powerful engine, and unmistakable Lamborghini presence make it a dream car for millions around the world. But Mat was not interested in keeping things ordinary. After acquiring the car, he transformed it into something that reflected his own personality and vision. The Gallardo received extensive upgrades that pushed it far beyond its factory specifications. What was once an already impressive supercar became an absolute monster on the road. With performance modifications increasing its power dramatically, the car became capable of delivering a kind of thrilling experience that most drivers will never experience in their entire lives. Yet performance was only part of the story. Mat wanted the car to stand out visually as well. Custom styling changes gave the Lamborghini a unique identity that instantly attracted attention wherever it appeared. Whether parked in an event, cruising through city streets, or featured in one of his videos, the Gallardo became one of the most recognizable vehicles associated with his brand. Fans loved it because it perfectly represented everything Mat Armstrong stood for: creativity, ambition, and a refusal to follow the normal rules. But perhaps the most fascinating thing about the Lamborghini was not its speed or appearance. It was what it symbolized. For years, owning a car like this had been a distant dream. Now it was sitting in his garage as proof of how far he had come. Every time viewers saw the Gallardo, they were reminded that the young BMX rider who once faced an uncertain future had completely transformed his life. And if one Lamborghini was impressive, the next chapter of Mat's collection would be even more unbelievable. Soon another legendary bull would enter his garage, the Lamborghini Murcielago. For many enthusiasts, the Murcielago is one of the greatest Lamborghinis ever created. Powered by a massive V12 engine and carrying a reputation for drama, performance, and exclusivity, it represents everything people love about exotic cars. When Mat got the opportunity to own one, he knew it was a special moment. But as always, there was a catch. The car was far from perfect. Years of neglect had left it in rough condition, and bringing it back to life would require enormous effort. Most buyers would have walked away from the challenge. Mat saw it as another opportunity to create something extraordinary. The rebuild quickly became one of the most talked about projects on his channel. Viewers watched as he tackled problem after problem, determined to restore the legendary supercar to its former glory. Every obstacle made the journey more exciting, and every breakthrough made the final result more rewarding. By now, it was becoming clear that Mat Armstrong was no longer simply a YouTuber who liked cars. He was building one of the most fascinating collections of rebuilt luxury vehicles on the internet, and the world was watching every step of the journey. By this stage, Mat Armstrong was no longer just a successful YouTuber with a few impressive cars. He was becoming one of the most recognized names in the automotive content world. Every new project attracted huge attention. Every rebuild generated excitement. And every success pushed his lifestyle to a completely new level. Yet, what made his collection so fascinating was a variety. It wasn't just about flashy supercars. Mat wanted vehicles that offered different experiences, different challenges, and different stories. That mindset eventually led him to one of the most luxurious SUVs ever built, the Range Rover Vogue. For many celebrities, athletes, and wealthy entrepreneurs, a Range Rover is a perfect daily vehicle. It combines luxury, comfort, technology, and road presence in a way few SUVs can match. But when Mat acquired his Range Rover, it was far from luxurious. The vehicle had suffered significant damage, worn-out components, broken parts, and enough problems to discourage most buyers. Once again, he faced a decision. walk away from another complicated project, or take on a challenge, and prove what was possible. As always, he chose the harder path. What followed was another remarkable transformation. Through countless hours of work, problem-solving, and determination, the damaged SUV slowly returned to life. Windows were repaired, body panels were restored, and numerous upgrades completely changed the vehicle's appearance. By the time the project was finished, the Range Rover looked like something that belonged outside a luxury hotel rather than inside a repair workshop. The transformation perfectly reflected Matt's philosophy. He didn't just repair vehicles. He reinvented them. The finished SUV became one of the most practical vehicles in his collection, offering luxury and comfort while still carrying the unique story of its restoration. However, if there was one project that truly tested his patience and determination, it was the Porsche 911 GT3. Among car enthusiasts, the GT3 is considered one of the finest driver's cars ever created. It is a machine built for performance, precision, and excitement. Owning one is a dream for many enthusiasts. Restoring one after a major accident is a completely different challenge. The particular GT3 that entered Matt's life came with an especially interesting history. It had previously belonged to fellow automotive creator Adam LZ, making the project even more fascinating for fans. The Porsche had suffered serious damage and required extensive repairs before it could return to the road. What looked like a difficult project on paper quickly became one of the most complex rebuilds Matt had ever attempted. Parts were difficult to source, repairs required extreme precision, and unexpected setbacks seemed to appear at every stage. There were moments when progress felt painfully slow. Some viewers even wondered whether the project would ever be completed. Yet those moments of uncertainty made the story even more compelling. Every obstacle only increased the satisfaction when another problem was solved. Eventually, after months of hard work, the Porsche began looking like a proper GT3 once again. When it finally returned to the road, it represented much more than a successful rebuild. It represented resilience. It showed exactly why Matt had become so successful. While many people give up when challenges become difficult, he continues pushing forward until the job is finished. By now, the financial rewards of his success were becoming increasingly visible. His garage contained vehicles worth hundreds of thousands of pounds. His videos generated millions of views. Major brands wanted to collaborate with him. New opportunities appeared almost constantly. The young man who once faced uncertainty after his BMX injury had built a life that most people could hardly imagine. But perhaps the most impressive part of the story was that Matt still seemed hungry for bigger goals. Every successful project only inspired him to chase even larger challenges. And as his wealth continued growing, he was preparing to make one of the biggest purchases of his entire life, a property that would symbolize just how far he had come from those early days of chasing dreams. When people look at Mat Armstrong today, it is easy to focus on the things that immediately grab attention. The Lamborghinis, the Porsche GT3, the luxury Range Rover, the dream mansion, the millions of YouTube views, the successful business ventures. From the outside, it can seem like the story is simply about money and expensive possessions. But when you look deeper, you discover that the luxurious lifestyle of Mat Armstrong is actually the result of something far more powerful. It is a result of persistence. It is the result of believing in yourself when nobody else can see the vision. It is the result of taking risks when playing it safe would have been easier. Years ago, when a shoulder injury ended his BMX ambitions, very few people could have predicted what would happen next. Most individuals facing such a setback would have accepted defeat and moved on. Many would have spent years wondering what could have been. Matt chose a different path. Instead of allowing one obstacle to define his future, he used it as motivation to build something entirely new. That decision changed everything. Step by step, project by project, and video by video, he transformed a simple passion for cars into an empire that now reaches millions of people around the world. What makes his journey so inspiring is that it feels relatable despite the extraordinary success. He did not begin with a collection of supercars or unlimited financial resources. He started with determination, mechanical skills, and a willingness to learn. Every luxury vehicle in his garage tells part of that story. Every property reflects years of effort. Every achievement represents countless hours of hard work hidden behind the scenes. That is why his audience continues to grow. They are not simply interested in the cars. They are invested in the journey. They have watched him take damaged vehicles that others considered hopeless and transform them into masterpieces. They have seen him face expensive mistakes, unexpected challenges, and difficult setbacks. Most importantly, they have seen him refuse to quit. In many ways, the cars themselves are symbols of his life story. Just as he restores broken vehicles and gives them a second chance, he rebuilt his own future after life forced him to change direction. That connection is what makes his success feel different from many other internet personalities. It is not based solely on luxury. It is built on resilience. Today, Mat Armstrong enjoys a lifestyle that most people can only dream about. He can drive some of the world's most desirable cars, travel across Europe, invest in ambitious projects, and live in a beautiful home with the person who has supported him throughout much of the journey. Yet despite all of that success, he continues doing the thing that made people fall in love with his content in the first place, taking on challenges that seem impossible. Every new rebuild is another adventure. Every new project is another opportunity to prove that determination can overcome obstacles. And every success story inspires viewers to believe that their own dreams may be possible as well. Perhaps that is the real reason people are fascinated by the luxurious lifestyle of Mat Armstrong. It is not because of the money, the mansion, or the supercars. It is because his journey proves that extraordinary success can come from ordinary beginnings. His story reminds us that setbacks do not have to define our future, that passion can become a career, and that the biggest rewards often come from the biggest risks. From a young BMX rider in Leicester to one of the most influential automotive creators on YouTube, Mat Armstrong has built a life that millions admire. And judging by his ambition, determination, and relentless passion for cars, it feels like his most exciting chapters are still waiting to be written.